question
come in,
सीधे please come.
Thank you.
Yes.
Please sit down, Namrata.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, Namrata, please sit down first.
Thank you, sir.
You're okay, comfortable?
Yes, sir.
So, tell us about yourself, Namrata, very briefly.
Yes, sir. I belong to Garhwa district in Jharkhand. I have done my schooling from Garhwa. I have done my BTech in Biological Sciences and Bioengineering from IIT Kanpur. I have also worked in a company in Mumbai for 1 year. And after that, I have been preparing for UPSC.
Okay. So, Namrata, tell me, you're wanting to get into the civil services. You have been in graduate from IIT Kanpur. So, why civil services?
Sir, because civil services gives a diverse and vast kind of opportunity to work with the government and to work with the people. In whatever service I get into, I get a very varied kind of opportunity, and this attracts me towards it. So I pursued it.
How do you rate integrity in civil services?
Sir, I think integrity is the most important value in civil service, because a person with integrity is always sticking to his value, whatever his belief, and also he is always upright and ready to be ready to go one step further to his duty to contribute towards the people. So I think it is the most.
You have heard of a case of one IAS officer in Jharkhand, a women officer?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, don't you think that these incidents, they bring shame to the services?
Yes, sir. I think it's a very unfortunate kind of
So,
incident.
suppose you were the DM of Khuti, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, what kind of checks and balances you would do? I mean, not for yourself, but to see that nobody gets into this kind of activity.
Sir, I will be very strict in these kind of matters, and I will place check and balance at all the steps. For example, any kind of contract is coming, then I have to see that the process is transparent, and I can also include technology in that so that the process is non-biased. And also I will be looking at the feedback from others, also from the subordinates and also the senior members, about any officer if any such case arrives.
You talked about technology, Namrata. So, how technology you think has helped in help women in their workplace to be able to do work, better, and number two, for their safety?
Sir, at the workplace, technology has helped women in many ways. For example, women can work from home using technology, as women are facing dual burden working at home and in the office. So they can work from home, and also they can work in any part of the world without leaving the home. And in safety, sir, mostly there are tools like GPS tracking and phone-based emergency services. And also there are emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, which can recognize the stress and call the emergency services. So these can be the methods.
You heard of the High Court, Delhi High Court verdict on marital rape.
Yes, sir.
So, can you tell briefly what are the views of both the judges? It's a split verdict.
Yes, sir.
Aware of it?
Yes,
Just
sir.
give very small points.
One of the judges has asked for removing the exception which is given to the marital rapes, and he has advocate criminalizing it. And the another judge has asked that it would be very difficult to prove the marital rape cases, and it will hamper the sanctity of Indian marriages. So there is no scope for removing it by the legislature also.
So, which judge are you favoring?
Sir, I will favor the first judge, because as a woman, I believe that rape in whatever condition has to be punished, and any marriage which is standing on the grounds of rape and this kind of violence should not be there.
So, lastly, sedition law is another law which is being discussed.
Yes, sir.
Supreme Court has come out with some order. What is that order?
Supreme Court has stayed the execution of the law till the government is reconsidering it and making some changes in it.
So, do you think that this is another case of judicial outreach, judicial activism by a court?
Yes, sir. I think it is a case of activism, and I believe that because the government is itself thinking to reconsider the law, so it would not be right to punish people who under this law. So Supreme Court has taken a good decision, so I will not call it an overreach or something like that.
Oh, but you said it is an activism. You
Sir,
mean
I would take it
you mean it is not an outreach?
Yes, sir.
It is a balanced decision.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Please.
Namrata, it is said that if the last century was about fossil fuels in terms of national assets, 21st century is about biodiversity as the most critical national asset. Can you explain that to us?
Yes, sir. The present century is facing the crisis of climate change, and many of the biodiversity is being wiped out. And due to this, problems like food security is also emerging. So, to maintain food security and to propel our growth in a sustainable manner, we need to protect our biodiversity, because we have seen in case of COVID, due to the loss of biodiversity, such a pandemic was in front of us, and that hampered our growth. So I believe that protection of biodiversity will be useful for
What's
our
the connect
sustainability.
between COVID and biodiversity?
Because of the loss of biodiversity like plants and forest, many of the wild animals are coming into contact with people, and due to that, many of the diseases which were previously
Okay,
in
that
animals.
way. I mean,
Yes, sir.
interspecies jump of
Yes,
the
sir.
virus. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain to us the biodiversity map of India? Have you cared to look at biodiversity map of India?
Yes, sir.
What are the bright spots there?
Sir, India has a huge biodiversity, and it is one of the global hotspots. So major species in animals are Asian lion, a tiger, and Asiatic lion is there. Then in Assam we have rhinos, and in the west we have many exotic species like slender lories and these kind of. And in the east, we in Jharkhand and all, we have lot of elephants, and in the north we have animals like leopard in the Himalayan region. And
You
also,
still to cover plants?
yes sir, I'm covering that.
Okay.
So in plants we have varied kind of forest, from evergreen to dry deciduous, moss deciduous, and also arid forest. And also in the upper part of region we also have tundra kind of vegetation.
All right. So, what is the most formidable hotspot in terms of biodiversity on Indian map?
Sir, Western Ghats and Northeast region are the biggest
Okay, good.
hotspots.
Good. Genetics is all around us. Okay. It helps us in forensics, even history. These days
Yes,
rely a
yes,
lot on genetic studies, agriculture, genetically modified plants and so forth, medical sciences and so forth. What is this Human Genome Project, and have we been able to sequence it fully?
Sir, it is a collaboration of worldwide scientists to map the human genome in full way, because human genome is made of 3 billion base pairs. So
Have we done it?
yes sir, they have done it.
So what are the consequences flowing out of it?
So they have been able to recognize the functional genes, and they have been able to recognize also the mutations, and this will be helpful in treating diseases which have not been used. And also it will also help in mapping the gene of other kind of species, and to protect them.
So if you were to look at Indian health scenario,
Yes sir.
okay, what is it that Indian population is most predisposed to in terms of disease?
Sir, mostly diabetes and other kind of non-communicable diseases, hypertension and cardiac diseases are rising in India. But diabetes is the
Can
most.
genome studies be of some help in this?
Yes, sir. It can help in understanding why there is greater disposition, and what changes in the lifestyle and fooding habits we can make, so that the impacts can be reduced.
So lifestyle is different. I mean, you have also chosen sociology as the subject of your subject for your UPSC examination. There is this raging biology versus sociology debate, right? That human behavior or social behavior is largely biological determined,
Yes, sir.
and sociologists would say that no, it is culturally determined. So what do you feel? Because you have one leg in genome, the other in sociology. So how do you feel? You're the best person to answer this.
Sir, I would say it would be a mix of both the biology, genetics, and also the environmental factors impact it. We can see the example of two twins who look alike behave differently because of the environment, but many of their habits may be same due to the genetics. So I think it will be a mix of both.
All right. So no decisive yes or no to either of the two. You continue to say what 50 years back some.
Sir, human nature and behavior is complex. So we cannot pinpoint that because of this, this is happening. There are so many factors in environment and so many genetic factors. Genetics is also not fully understand, so a lot of complexity is there. So I can say it will be a mix of both.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Namrata, you see, I was looking at your desk, then I find you have tried your hand at so many things, like biology, bioengineering at IIT, then opting for sociology, then doing a program analyst job, and I was looking at the company's profile, nothing to do with bioengineering, I think.
It is not related.
Nothing to do with bioengineering.
Yes.
Then again, I find that you have appeared in forest service also. So, are you not able to make up your mind what is good for you?
No, sir, I would say that I'm getting good opportunities at every step of my life in diverse fields. So I'm making the best of it.
So that's in line of your thinking.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So tell me that left-wing extremism. A number of districts of Jharkhand are covered with that. What exactly is at the bottom of the problem? There must be some demands which the government is not meeting, so there is extremism. Is it that way, or there is some other way of looking at the problem?
Yes, sir. It is mainly because of the demands, and mostly
What demands?
There are various kind of demands. Like in economic zone, there are problems of land equation of the tribals from their land, and the problem of
I am not able to understand. You said eviction, perhaps you are telling, no?
Yes, sir.
Eviction.
Yes, sir.
Eviction of tribals from their
Land.
Okay,
Yes,
carry on.
And in economic zone, they are not getting the benefits of the economic resources, especially in the Jharkhand. So many mineral resources are there. And
Is there a law on that subject?
Yes, sir. Under the Minerals Act, there have been district mineral foundations have been built, and apart from that, PISA and other acts, Forest Right Acts is there, so that the tribals can get their share. But that has not percolated to the ground. And also in the politics domain, the governance has not reached the most remotest and most marginalized sections.
But the tribals have become chief minister also in Jharkhand, I find.
Yes, sir. But many of the tribals who are living in the forest.
Everybody cannot become chief minister. So, where exactly is the problem?
Sir, mostly the problem are these concerns, grievances.
Okay, what solutions can be thought about?
Yes, sir. The solution has to be on both fronts, on law and order and also on the developmental front. Law and order, because many of the Naxalites, especially in the Jharkhand, are not driven by ideology these days. So we have to counter those by using policing and other methods. And on the development front, we have to include the tribals and other marginalized sections, give them their land rights, implement the acts like PISA and FRA in a letter and spirit way, and also District Mineral Foundation, these kind of acts. So
is there a difficulty in taking administration closer to the people, taking the administration right inside?
Yes, sir. Especially in the remote areas and villages, infrastructure is also lacking. Basic facilities like roads and these kind of hospitals, schools are not there. So these people are being left out.
Any problem in attending to this issue?
Yes, sir. The left-wing extremism is itself a biggest problem. Is this? It is also a cause and also a consequence of this. So we have to.
Thank you.
Namrata, I find that you had appeared for civil services earlier also,
Yes,
and
sir.
qualified.
And I appeared for interview, sir, but I could not qualify.
So you appeared for interview. How many times have you appeared?
Once.
Once.
Yes.
Okay. So what went wrong at that time?
I didn't got good marks in interview, so I was not selected.
Okay. So you missed in interview.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, Namrata. You are a biological and biological science and engineering. So let's talk about that.
Yes, sir.
First is, I'll make a statement and I want your reaction to that. That COVID as a bioweapon has been introduced in the world. How do you support or refute this statement?
Sir, in the beginning of the pandemic, there were so many suspicions risen by many of the developed countries and also other people, experts also, that it may be a bioweapon. However, the investigation by the WHO has not been completed and China has refused to give full access to the data. So right now, I do not have the evidence to conclude that it is a bioweapon. However, the suspicions have also not been erased completely. So,
Okay, Namrata, bio toilets were installed both in the railways and outside. COVID stopped the use of bio toilets in most of the places. So, is there any technology to keep these toilets still going? Because the life of bio toilet depends on the usage, and if pandemic stops it, how do you keep this Swachh Bharat mission going?
sir, I'm not aware about this topic.
You're not aware about. Okay, so tell me about contamination of underground water with metals. What kind of heavy metals contaminate the groundwater?
Sir, metals like arsenic, iron, nitrogen, these kind of, nitrogen is not a metal, I said it by mistake. Arsenic, iron, then manganese, and these kind of metals are,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, and what are the ill effects of contaminated groundwater?
Sir, it causes a lot of disease, for example, fluorosis and blue baby syndrome, and also due to arsenic, the food productivity and crop productivity in West Bengal is also mostly affected due to arsenic production, and toxicity in the plants is there, so it is very harmful.
What will be the advantage of Atmanirbhar Bharat digital mission?
Sir, it will build a digital backbone to the health infrastructure of our country, and most of the people have to go through repeated tests when they travel to different parts of India for treatment. So it will be forming a digital database, and the need for repeated test, and also there will be need for repeated test will be reduced, and also there will be clear history about the diseases when the patient go to any doctor, so it will be better diagnosis. Also the data can be used to enhance the insurance coverage of the people, so it will be useful.
Okay, is India passing through stagflation?
Sir, India is seeing very high rate of inflation. However, our growth rate has not stagnated. It has seen a V-shaped recovery after the pandemic. So with the growth ticking up, we cannot say that yet that we are in phase of stagflation.
What are the components of current account deficit?
Current account deficit is basically balance of trade, which is export and imports, and also trade of services and remittances is there. So mostly these are there.
Is that all?
Trade of services, export and import of services, then remittances. That's all I'm able to recall.
Okay. Last question I want to ask you is on need to reform United Nations. Why do you think that there is a need to reform United Nations?
Sir, the United Nations is facing a lot of issues, especially we are seeing after the Russia-Ukraine war, the UN has not able to take any strong point on that, and also Russia is able to veto any resolution against it. Apart from that, United Nations has not been effective in tackling problems like terrorism and climate change and cyber warfare and these kind of things. It has not able to stop, and also the functioning is not very democratic as we are seeing in United Nations Security Council. So these are the reasons for reform.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Namrata, you are from Garhwa district. Garhwa, is one of the aspirational districts.
Yes, sir.
Have you noticed any change over the past few years in civic communities, better governance?
Certainly, sir. I have seen roads and connectivity being better, especially through my village also highways being built these days. So apart from that, the water facility and irrigation facility has improved. So many water bodies and nahars are being built. So irrigation has developed. Apart from that, on the financial inclusion part, also bank accounts of many of the poor people have been opened. So there is progress.
What about sanitation?
Yes, sir. On the sanitation part, most of the houses now have toilets, and though there are some practices of ODF still continuing, not completely, but this is not due to the lack of facility, mostly of the habit.
Okay, good. Now, Namrata, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and Uttarakhand, they came into existence after carving out from etc. So at the same time, almost 99, 2000.
2000.
But I think Jharkhand socio-economic development has been slower than the two states. So what could be the reason for that?
Sir, mostly the reason has been political instability in the state. No state was able to complete a full year term, and in the last 20 years only we have seen 10 or 11 chief ministers. So this was one of the major problems, that no major intervention was able to be implemented, and also president rule was imposed multiple times.
Do you also attribute the lack of PRI initially in the state for this slower development? Because PRI elections, first elections were held after 10 years of
Yes, sir.
state having come into existence.
Yes, sir. We can certainly say that. The law came in 2001 only, but the implementation was very late.
Okay. Now tell me, Namrata, how GM crop can help in climate change mitigation?
Sir, GM crops can be useful in resisting the climate events. For example, extreme heat, then there can be crops which can resist that. Also, in case of nutrient deficiency is happening due to the climate change events, so GM crops can be made so that the nutrient component is higher in this way.
Very good. Honorable Prime Minister made a statement about 2-3 weeks back that we must provide easy and accessible justice to the people using technology. What kind of technologies we can use in delivering quick justice?
Sir, video conferencing can be one, because most of the courts in the rural and remote parts do not have proper infrastructure. So through video conferencing, we can connect them to the good justice.
But this is e-court basically.
Yes, sir.
Anything else apart from that?
Better investigation technologies can be used. For example, DNA fingerprinting in forensic sciences can be used so that justice can be given to the people. Because of the lack of investigation, also justice is denied many times.
Now, India has set a target of becoming a $5 trillion US economy by 2024-25. It was originally planned, but maybe it will be extended by a couple of years. So, where do you see the role of women in this?
Sir, women-led development can help in great way, as IMF also predicted that if women participation is increased, which is very low, about 1/4 presently.
Yeah.
So a lot of our demographic dividend is not involved in productive work. So when women will be working, our GDP is estimated to rise by around 27% by the IMF.
Good.
So,
Thank you, Namrata.
Thank you, sir.
So, Namrata, tell me, why India should be wary of China, and why India should try to make good relations with China?
Sir, India should be wary of China because of its aggressive foreign policy and aggressive stand that it has adopted. It is inside our borders for 2 years, and also in our neighborhood it is building the CPEC project, and it is violating our sovereignty, and also in the Indo-Pacific region it is threatening our transport etc. by making artificial islands in the South China Sea. And we should make friends with China because we both are developing countries and we have good trade relationship. We are dependent on China for many of our crucial imports, and also I think China and India can, if they work together, they can do good for the poor and developing countries, for example in Africa and other parts of the world. So that will be a good initiative if they can work together.
So, Namrata, anything which the panel may not have covered, any subject or area, and you would like us to ask a question from that subject?
Sir, regarding sociology, maybe.
Sociology.
Yes, sir.
Would you like to ask in sociology?
Take your pick. Who is your favorite sociological thinker?
Sir, I would say Max Weber
Max
from the
Weber.
western part of the world.
Okay. Why?
Sir, because he has tried to balance the micro and the macro approach. Because many of the thinkers look society in a certain way and do not include all the complexities. So Max Weber had tried to bridge that gap, and he has used individual at the center, but he has not missed.
What are the attributes of a bureaucrat that he has spoken of? The ideal type
Yes,
of
sir.
bureaucracy.
Sir, according to Weber, bureaucracy is possibly the most efficient organization, and the bureaucrats is bound by the rules of the institution in which he is working, and he has to always behave rationally and take rational decisions, and not guided by mostly by human emotions and weakness. So he has to work in complete efficient manner, and of course there should not be any scope for corruption and these kind of problems.
Has he also spoken of hierarchy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So do you think that bureaucrats aren't required altogether as per Max Weber? Artificial intelligence can take machines can take care of it. They can be impersonal. They can obey commands. They can be emotional, right? And hierarchy will work best with machines.
So though Max Weber himself developed the ideal type of bureaucracy, but he himself said that this kind of bureaucracy is not possible in real life. And as when we look at the artificial intelligence, it can do all the works, like you said, hierarchy and all. But administration is also a people-centric job. We have to engage with people, understand the problems, and we have also used our human side, which cannot be done by the artificial intelligence completely.
Okay.
So thank you, Namrata. So Namrata, tell about your assessment, how you did well, how you did not do well.
But I think it was fair. It was good.
Better than what you did last time?
Certainly, sir. Very better.
Certainly means
Yes.
many more percentage.
Many more percent, right, sir?
So how much did you get last time?
So 124.
Oh, must have really
That
spent.
will realize after we finish. No, I will tell you.
So you're a good candidate, Namrata. You shape well and quite well informed. Speak a little faster. Maybe it must be your habit. Is it? Or somebody
Yes.
has advised you.
Both, sir. I generally speak faster, and also when I speak slow, it sometimes looks like there is less energy. So
No. Okay, got it. No, speaking slowly will certainly be very bad, but speaking fast only to the extent that you should be, there should be so much of time lag to comprehend, to understand what you are saying. So give that much of, speed. So that is one, and I'd like to correct before I forget. You see, you mentioned you took a stand on marital rape. You could take coffee. You could take any step, any. After all, two judges have given one in favor. But when you said as a woman, that was wrong. You are not here before a national women, body
right.
representing a national women body.
Yes,
You are
yes.
going to be a civil servant. Civil servant, whether it is man, whether it is woman, irrespective of that, you have to take a
Yes, sir.
decision. So avoid that as a woman.
Yes.
And think as a civil servant. So implementation, keep in mind anything which you behave as if you would be a civil servant, because if the questions will be asked from you, keeping that in view, always remember in the main interview also, assuming कि वही देखें ये civil servant की तरह नम्रता कितनी फिट है, उन्होंने कहा कि वो मैं वुमन हूँ इसलिए मैं सपोर्ट करती हूँ.
Yes. Yes, sir.
इसका ध्यान रखना बस. और ये दो चीजें थी. Rest other members.
Namrata, you come across, we agree with what our chairperson said, you come across as a very well-informed candidate, but the analytical rigor in your answers can be vastly improved. You draw your expertise from a variety of disciplines, as sir was talking to you about. You have one foot in sociology, you have done biological sciences and bioengineering from an IIT, and you have done your schooling from Jharkhand, which I understand has a good tradition of schooling, right? A robust tradition of schooling. So your expectations from these questions would be little higher, right? For example, you can also think of broadening the scope of framing your answers. You start with a very restricted corridor, right? And that does not allow you to dig into the kind of expertise that you have. For example, I asked you a question on biodiversity, right? You virtually said climate. The challenge of climate is the only thing as to why 21st century should be regarded as the century of biodiversity. But if you had used the historical context better, right, as to why fossil fuel was important in 19th century or 20th century and why 21st century biodiversity will be an issue. Because of excessive usage of the resources, sustainability of the planet itself has come into question, right? So unless you frame it that way, it will not allow you to dig into what you already have, right? So you must pause and think about it, that you have it in you, but you are initially committing to a very narrow lane and you start walking into that lane. Okay, take a pause, broaden the scope of your answers, then proceed. I think that will allow you to do it better. Thank you.
So, Namrata, you have to maintain your calm, whatever be the questions, and understand that to what extent you can carry on with your point of view. Otherwise, there are three words which gets typified. One is adamant, one is unrelenting, and one is stubborn. Very bad words. But if a candidate keeps on harping on a particular area, so then these words come and the marks will come down. So understand to what extent you can go. This is what I have noticed. Then sometimes the answer have been slightly on the longer side. I would suggest that you frame your answers in not more than 3 to 4 sentences. And give that answer and then stop at that. Look at the member concerned, they will ask you another question. So that it will maintain a time frame where all the members will be able to ask question and get your answers. And they will also be able to ask some supplementaries. If there is a mismatch there, then what happens? Members are not able to ask question or they are not able to ask supplementary. That's where the marks come down. Okay. So this is otherwise you are good, you are confident, and you have a pleasant disposition. So these are the plus points in your side. Will you be able to put on the same? You will be putting on same cloth or something?
No, sir.
What you will put
Sorry.
on? And when is your interview?
25th May.
25th. So I would suggest that do some rehearsal with sari also.
Yes, sir.
If there is a problem in putting on your sari, then put your clips wherever it is required.
Yes, sir.
But you should not be conscious of sari. If you get conscious of sari on that day, then there will be other issues.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes, sir.
So one more mock somewhere with sari.
Yes, sir.
Carry on.
Thank you, sir.
Namrata, you are doing well. Only thing is,
One question where your technical input was required, you were not able to give.
Yes.
Okay.
Sir,
Bio toilets during pandemic,
I have
how
not
to
read
keep
about
them
it.
alive. Okay. And number two is we didn't ask you many questions on pharma sector and India's vaccine policy and vaccine export, and many issues emerging thereon, because you are a candidate appearing at the time when COVID is again resurfacing. So prepare yourself on fourth wave and future of pandemics. Okay, then origin of COVID itself. So that's it. With regard to questions asked, I think you addressed generally well, but I felt some depth was missing in the point that you made. I am not going into detail. I was expecting a little more polished reply, and probably one reason was that you started answering immediately after the question was asked. You could have taken a pause and then you could have framed your reply, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, Namrata, I will not repeat what has been said already by the Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members. You are a very good candidate, confident, well informed. That was very good part of very, very good. But only one point which I would like to point out was that you were a fast speaker.
Yes.
Fast in terms of your pace, which was okay. उसको थोड़ा सा otherwise I don't see any reason why you should not be getting very good marks. All the best.
Thank you, sir.
So Namrata, the panel has given you very good marks, 67% today.
184.
So you have done well. So don't get this feeling that, oh, 124. Don't flush that out of your mind like a bad dream.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions?
No, sir. One question, also. Sir, regarding the stubbornness, in what part did you feel?
no, it will be difficult to point out that.
Okay,
You
okay.
see, I look at the person, I talk to the person, within 2 minutes I am able to
Okay.
ascertain. And after that, when you have told 124,
No, no,
then you could understand that there must have been, that same trait must have been there.
Yes, yes.
So that's why I told you that we'll discuss after we have finished.
Right?
So, sir, how will I realize that I have to stop? Because there is also that thing that I have to stick on my opinion.
No.
Okay.
You see, sticking to opinion is different and being stubborn is different. Sticking to opinion means, suppose somebody says that this is like this is a rose flower, and I know it is not rose, it is marigold. I am very certain it is marigold. I have spoken, given one argument in favor of marigold. After giving the argument in favor of marigold, I stop.
Okay.
I don't keep on harping on that point because that is what I know. So arguing, keep on arguing is of no meaning. Just stop there and wait for chairperson to take over. Either chairperson will take over or some other member will take over. But you cannot go on harping on one issue. So this is how you make a difference between sticking to your point and still not being stubborn.
Yes, sir.
Understand?
Yes, sir.
So there is a difference between the two. So the tendency of harping should not be there. So I would like to know in very brief that 124, did you enter into some argument?
No, sir.
No.
No.
Or was there something which you spoke which was not correct? Which
Yes, yes.
I would say it was a lie which you thought you will carry on, but the members will not know.
Sir, it was not a lie,
You
but
tell
lack
what
of,
went wrong according to you.
sir, first was confidence, because my confidence went down, and due to that reason I was not able to frame questions in a very good way, and also some things which I was not aware but I tried to guess, and these kind of things. Yes.
Okay.
So these things.
So guessing, I have spoken a very harsh word just to make that point, that if you speak something which is not true and you carry on with a confidence, then that is where members will think that the person is a liar. I use very harsh word only to carry that 40.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
if that happens, immediately marks will come down. It will go below 140 and it will be between 80 and 110, 120. So never do that. If you do not know, you are at liberty to simply use these 3 sentences. Sir, I do not know. Sir, I do not remember. Sir, I am unable to recall.
Yes, yes.
These 3. And that question is at the off your back. Another member will take over because they don't want to waste time.
Right.
But today, Namrata, you did not show those signs. He's only referring to maybe the possibility that you may have acted adequately and whatever, just a, warning to you that don't indulge in that. That could have been the reason, but you already mentioned some of the reasons why you did not
Yes,
do well.
yes.
But today you were not adamant, you were not this thing. So you did well. That is why the panel has given you 67%.
Very good mark.
Right?
But today is the best. Almost it is the best.
So keep it up. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Today is best.
कन्वर्सेशन मोड में लेके आइए ना जो
जी, sir.
you know most of the things you are knowing. I didn't find you saying I don't know sir on many occasions. Just conversation मोड में आएगा तो आपका कॉन्फिडेंस लेवल भी आपका सब मतलब everything will be taken up.
Yes, sir.
All the best.
Thank you, sir.
In fact, just to dislodge your confidence and to see whether you go back into that mode, I asked you that question whether it is a mismatch and you are not able to make up your mind. Whether you enter into that argument is again. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes,
You came out very well, I must say.
yes sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All the best, Namrata.
Thank you, sir.